Hello, and welcome to this video guide on preparing for your F-2 visa in the United States. The F-2 visa is a dependent visa, and today I'll be walking you some common questions that the officer might ask you during the interview. My name is Michael, and today I'll give you some example questions and example answers to help you prepare for this interview. So let's get started. The F-2 visa is designed for dependents, the spouse or children of an F-1 visa holder. The aim of the interview is to make sure that you have all the required documents for the visa and that your relationship to the F-1 visa holder is genuine. So you'll need to demonstrate strong ties to your home country, and the officer may ask you questions about your financial background, how you plan to support yourself, and what you plan to do while you're in the United States with the F-1 visa holder. So let's take a look at some example questions. Remember, these questions are not specific. These are just example questions. They're in no particular order. When you get to the embassy or the consulate, the officer might ask you variations of these questions. But let's take a look at a few example questions. So the first question, what is the purpose of your trip to the United States? So they could ask you something like, why do you want to go to the United States? Now you're there on an F-2 visa to be there as a spouse or child of an F-1 visa holder. So your response might sound something like this. Well, I'm applying for an F-2 visa and I'm there to support my husband who's there on an F-1 visa and studying at the University of Maryland. I'll be there to support him every step of the way and be by his side while he completes his studies. Let's take a look at another question the officer might ask you. Can you provide details about the F-1 visa holder's program of study? Okay, so this might be a little tricky because it's not you studying, but it could be your spouse, or it could be your mother or father who's studying in the United States. So they might want to know about the F-1 visa holder's plans. So the question might be something like this. Can you provide details about the F-1 visa holder's program of study? Your answer could be something like this. Well, my husband has been accepted into the University of Montana to pursue a degree in engineering. The program is for 4 years, and he's already received his I-20 form and visa approval. I have those documents if you need them, but I'll be there to be by his side and support him every step of the way. Okay, so you don't need to go into great detail about this, but mention the university, mention the program of study, mention the length of time. Yes, so my example was, my husband has been accepted into the University of Montana. He'll be studying engineering. The program is for 4 years. I have his documents. If you need them, I'll be there to support him every step of the way. All right, the next question might be, what is your relationship to the F-1 visa holder? So this is a straightforward question. That's my spouse. It's my wife. It's my husband. It's my mother, or it's my father. So a very straightforward question. But you might need to provide a marriage certificate or a birth certificate to prove that. Again, as I've mentioned before, don't give these documents to the officer until they ask for them, but tell them that you have them. That's my wife. I have the marriage certificate if you need it. My father will be studying at the University of Montana. I have the birth certificate with his name on it if needed. Okay, so it's pretty simple. That's my husband, that's my wife, that's my father, that's my mother. I have the marriage certificate, I have the birth certificate if you'd like to see it. Let's take a look at another common question. This question comes up in many visa interviews, whether it's a student interview or whether it's a business interview or whether it's for tourism. They ask you about your financial support. How do you plan to support yourself financially? So let's take a look at an example question. The officer might ask you, how will you support yourself financially while you're in the United States? So in this case, it's important to remember that while you're on your F-2 visa, you're not allowed to work in the United States. So you'll likely be relying on your savings. You'll likely be relying on your spouse or other family members to help support you while you're in the United States. So you could say something like this if we get this question. How will you support yourself financially while you're in the United States? Our expenses will be covered by the two of us. We've been saving for a long time. We've both been working in our home country. So we've established a savings account, which we'll be using while we're in the United States. I have the bank statements and the financial documents if you need those. But we've been saving for a long time, and that's how we plan to support ourselves. Let's take a look at another question. The question might be, what are your plans while you're in the United States? So again, you want to address what you can and cannot do while you're in the United States under an F-2 visa. You want to make it clear that you know that and that you know the rules. So your answer might sound something like this. Well, as an F-2 visa holder, I know that I cannot work or study full-time, but I plan to support my husband during his studies, manage the household, and find some engaging activities that I can do while he's off studying. I'm sure there are some volunteer programs, or maybe I can find some part-time education within the regulations of the F-2 visa. But remember, in this answer, if you get this question, what are your plans in the United States? You'd like to make it clear in your answer that you understand the rules and regulations, what you can and cannot do under this visa. So be sure to include that in your answer. I understand I cannot work or study full-time while I'm under the F-2 visa, but I plan to assist my husband with his studies. I'll help him study while he's home. While he's in class, I'll be looking into some volunteer work or other things that I can do to keep myself busy. But I'll be taking care of the household, I'll be helping my husband with his studies, and I'll find a few things to do to keep me busy that in my free time that stay within the rules of the F-2 visa. Make that clear. All right, let's take a look at another question. Do you intend to return to your home country after your stay? A very important question, and a question that comes up in many different interviews, no matter what interview, no matter what visa you're applying for. So no matter what visa you're applying for, this question comes up very frequently. Do you plan to return to your home country after your stay? All right, they want to make sure that you do not plan to just stay in the United States beyond the expiration date, that you do plan to leave the United States and return to your home country. Perhaps one day you'd like to immigrate to the United States. You can apply for that visa in due time. Don't worry about that right now. Right now, you're under the F-2 visa, and the officer wants to know that you do plan to leave the U.S. and return to your home country when your husband or your wife or your parents' studies, when they're finished, you plan to return. So let's look at this next question. Do you intend to return to your home country after your stay? Here's an example response. Yes, we plan to return to our home country after my husband completes his studies. We have strong ties to our home country, including family, property, or any job commitments. So mention family members that might need you back home. Perhaps you own property that you need to take care of, or perhaps you have some job commitments. Perhaps your company is giving you a leave of absence and you need to return. Or perhaps there's a family business that you're going to be in the United States for some time, but once you return to your country, you'll continue in the family business. So whatever ties you may have, whatever proof you may have that shows that you plan to return to your home country and why you need to return to your home country once your family member's studies are complete. All right, here's another common question they ask in different interviews. Have you traveled internationally before? They want to know about your experience in traveling to different countries outside of your home country. For some people, it might be their first time. Other people might be well experienced in international travel, but they want to know what your experience is like. Have you ever traveled outside of your home country? Have you ever traveled abroad before? So let's take a look at the example question. The officer asks you, have you traveled internationally before? Let's take a look at an example answer. Yes, I've traveled to several countries in the past for tourism. I've been to Japan, Malaysia, Vietnam. I've even been to Australia. They've all been beautiful countries for different reasons. I've enjoyed my time. This will be a little bit different because in those other countries, I was just there to travel. I was just there for tourism. Here, I'll be staying long term. I'll be staying along my husband or my wife or my parents. I'll be staying with them while they complete their studies. So it'll be a long-term stay. I know it'll be a little bit different, but I have had some international experience traveling to different countries. I had a great time trying their food, experiencing the culture. I'm sure I'll have a great time here for a different reason, a different purpose, but I'm sure I'll enjoy myself here as well. On the other hand, if you don't have any international experience, don't worry about that. That's not a problem. You can say, no, I've actually never been to another country before. This will be my first time. I've always wanted to travel abroad, but I haven't had the opportunity as of yet. So this will be a great opportunity. Of course, the focus is to take care of my studies. The focus is for my husband to complete his studies, or the focus is for my wife or my children to complete their studies. So I'll be here to support them along the way. So the main purpose is not travel or tourism, of course, but I would like to spend time in another country and see what that's like. All right, another question they might ask is about your documents, supporting documents that you might need. So as I've mentioned before the interview, when you enter the embassy or consulate or wherever you're taking the interview, you want to have all your documents with you, even ones that they might not even need. So financial documents, bank statements, travel itinerary, what other documents you might need. We mentioned birth certificate or marriage certificate, if it's your husband or your wife that'll be studying, or if it's one of your parents that'll be studying. Make sure you have all the necessary documents with you. And again, do not hand those documents to the officer until they ask for them. But in this particular question, they will be asking for those documents. Let's take a look at the example question. Can you provide documents supporting your application? All right, the answer here should be yes. Yes. If we say no, sorry, I didn't bring anything, I've got nothing, you might have problems. So the answer to this should be a resounding yes, I do. Here they are. All right, some documents you might need. I have my passport. I have my F-1 visa holder's I-20 form. I have their approval and admission letter. I have my marriage certificate or my birth certificate. And I have financial documents that support my being in the United States. So marriage certificate, birth certificate, passport, F-1 holder's I-20 form. If you have it from the university, their admission form, their approval letter, bring that as well, and bring your financial documents that prove that you can support yourself in the United States. All right, so preparing for an F-2 visa requires honesty, confidence, and proper documentation. Remember, dress professionally when you go in for the interview. Bring all the documents you need. Be honest and clear in your answers, and you'll do great. If you have any more questions or you'd like a more personalized approach to the interview or more assistance, feel free to contact us at US Law Group, LLC. We're here to help you every step of the way. Thank you so much for watching, and good luck in your interview.